So I'm just off the back of a very special week in the Italian Dolomites, on my bucket list for quite some time, and it really truly did not disappoint. The photography, it was absolutely out of this world, fantastic, and just such an amazing trip. So this video is going to be a bit of a recap. Prior to going, I shared my kit bag with you and what I was going to be taking. If you haven't checked it out already, I will link it somewhere up here. Had a few questions on the follow-up of how I got on with that gear and how it all worked out. So I thought, well, it's fresh in my mind. I'm still buzzing from the trip. I thought I would just kind of share and follow up, how the gear actually worked out on this trip. And I wanted to announce a little mini series that I'm going to be sharing in the coming weeks with you from this trip. Now, usually I'd make like 1 or 2 videos from a trip like this. It was just a week long, and that seems to be plenty. And sometimes I even struggle to pick up the camera that much to vlog. But I have to be honest, it just flowed. It just came so naturally on this trip. Now, I knew that I would probably shoot loads of photos, which I did, but I also just found it very easy to pick up the vlogging camera and capture lots of behind the scenes as well, because it was just so amazing, and it was just so photogenic, and there were so many little things that I wanted to share, tips and tricks, and hopefully a lot of travel inspiration for you. So what I'm going to do, instead of just doing 1 or maybe 2 videos, I'm going to break it down into 5 quite mini vlogs. I've actually edited 1 already. You can tell I'm on a roll. Edited that yesterday, so I'm going to post that live later this week after this video, and then I'll follow up with the other 4. They're all slightly different, but I'm very excited to share it with you. So what you need to do is obviously make sure you're subscribed, hit that bell button so that you get notified when they're posted, and I just really hope that you enjoy them. I hope they're good entertainment value, you enjoy the scenery, you enjoy the landscape, and most importantly, you take a bit of inspiration for your travel photography and perhaps pick up a couple of tips as well. So coming very soon. Anyway, onto the gear itself. Now, this won't take long. This is just a brief kind of follow-up. I'm not going to follow up on all the little bits and pieces that I took, predominantly talking about the main setup itself, which of course was my Sony A7C II. I paired it with the 24-50G f2.8 lens, and that was paired with this brand new filter that I got from K&F Concept. It's a 3-in-1 CP mist and a variable ND filter, like a 1 to 5 stop. So let me talk about it. Now, the camera itself is amazing. I've had the A7C II for some time. It didn't disappoint. I didn't actually end up shooting any video on it. I did purely photography on it, which was fine. I love it. I love the quality of it. I used it in crop mode quite a bit, as well as its full frame mode, and it really came up trumps as always. Very happy with it, and the quality of the images that I have edited so far, super happy with, no complaints. I guess more of the decision really was based around what lens I was going to be taking, and it was a bit of a bold move just to take the 1 lens, and my slight concern was that I wouldn't have something wide enough. However, literally within a couple of hours of being there and out on our first hike, I realised actually the 24-50 was probably going to work out really quite nicely, because I found myself wanting to crop in quite a bit and compress the scene. It was a very big, large scale environment, and it could get a little bit lost in a wide shot. There were a couple of occasions, as I probably predicted, where maybe a wide angle lens may have been useful, but it really was, for me anyway, that minority of time. Some people perhaps would have wanted to go wide. Couple of solutions I had. I shot a vertical pano of one of the scenes. It worked out great. However, ironically, I then ended up looking and comparing it to a single shot that I took, just like a normal landscape photo. And I have to be honest, the crop was actually quite similar. But it gave me that peace of mind that I'd got everything I wanted. And if I wanted to go really wide, which I did for just a couple of snaps, I like the word snaps, of like my friend or me and my friend when someone else was taking a photo, I used the iPhone. I used it in RAW mode, and you'll see in the video I talk a little bit about using the iPhone. I found the files really impressive to edit with, and the outcome in some of my iPhone photos, I have to be honest, were pretty damn impressive. So that kind of bailed me out if I did need something really wild but wide. But on the whole, this 24-50 range, I actually think was, like, for me, perfect. I do like to shoot a little bit tighter, but it worked out really nicely. I did use the 2.8 a few times for picking out some details, and then obviously I could go throughout the range for more of the landscape style photography. On the front, the filter. Again, a bit of a risk. I'd never actually used it before. I literally picked it up just before the trip, but I was really mindful that I wanted a super simple solution for this trip, and I didn't want to be taking loads and loads of stuff. And this was fantastic for that. I mean, it lived on my camera. I pretty much solely shot with it on there. I was walking around with the camera on my capture clip a lot, and I knew that the front end of the lens was protected. And I had obviously a nice mist effect. It wasn't too much, it was just a little bit. I did take it off a couple of times just to visualize the difference. I preferred it on. I thought it gave a nice mood, especially with a lot of the low-hanging cloud that we had in the mountains, and that was really, really fantastic. The CP filter came in a treat. It was very bright in certain situations, and I was pretty glad to have that on the camera like most of the time, because I did want to dull down some of those kind of glaring light that was bouncing off things, as well as add a little bit of contrast back into the scene. And then of course I had my ND as well. Like, I had enough ND if I wanted to shoot a couple of little long exposures. I didn't take a tripod, so all of my long exposures were handheld, not super long obviously, as long as I could hold them, and I was just able to fiddle with that ND to the point that I could get a long enough shutter speed, and it worked really, really nicely. I didn't notice any major colour issues, like no wacky colours in the images, no major vignetting, no compromise to the image that I could tell, and I have started editing quite a few of these images. One thing, it did take me a little bit of getting used to start using it. You basically have this little, I'll try and show you here, you basically have this little silver adjuster on the side, which basically loosens and tightens. So if you've got that loose, you can then adjust your ND through 1 through 5, which is great. But you have to make sure you've got that cranked right down to hold the ND part, to then be able to twist it to adjust for your CP filter. So I did sometimes find myself like not being, if that wasn't fully cinched down, then I wasn't able to adjust the CP as easy without taking my eye off the viewfinder and looking at it. And as I've mentioned, it was incredibly bright, so I was actually using my viewfinder. I have to be honest, not to great success at times. That's the one thing like I really noticed with the A7C. I would have loved the viewfinder to be a bit better, because I was finding like light coming in the side. It wasn't bright enough at times, I'm not really someone that shoots a lot on the viewfinder for that reason, but I did like need it in this instance. So I was having to take my eye off and just make my adjustments. But actually, once I got used to the filter, it was pretty good. And I guess the main thing that matters is the results. And wow, am I happy with some of the results, and just so enjoyed shooting it. So overall, I cannot express how nice it was to be super simple, super lightweight, and just be able to enjoy the photography and the trip without worrying about whether I had the right lens on, whether I should change my lens, or carrying a great deal of weight. We did a lot of hiking, and I needed that extra space in my bag because the temperature change was so drastic. I just needed layers of clothes to take on, put back on, take off, like hats, gloves. Like, we were out for long days, so you needed a bit of everything. And of course, you need a lot of room for the snacks, because you don't want to get hungry when out photographing. So all in all, it really, really did work, an absolute treat. But I'm so excited to share the trip with you over these 5 videos. Again, hit that bell button to be subscribed. The next one will be coming very shortly after this one. Thank you so much for tuning in, all of the support and encouragement. I really, really appreciate it. And I will look forward to seeing you in the mountains in the Dolomites.